So I wanted to talk a little bit about the nursing shortage that's going on. I've been a nurse now over 10 years and lived in New York most of my life. Left related to the pandemic, wasn't basically able to work anymore because of the mandate, so I decided to do travel nursing, which obviously, as a result of the pandemic mandates, has created an even greater nursing shortage. Now you have the largest group of people, the baby boomers that are retiring, and many of them work as nurses, right? You have a lot of the nurses who work in the industry, and a big number of them are baby boomers. So a lot of them are either retiring or near retiring. And in New York, they're short something like 30,000 nurses. And there's a crisis in New York that is kind of being kept quiet. It's not there, I read a lot of reports about it, but it's obviously not stuff that's getting into the mainstream media talking about it on a regular basis, causing people to put attention to it. But there is a huge shortage of nurses. I get constant emails and text messages and calls from recruiters, saying, "Hey, I saw your post on whatever online. We got dozens and dozens of job openings. They're like, we would like you to apply to." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm not vaccinated. You got to find somebody that's vaccinated." Because there's no exemptions. There's no exemptions for health or religious or whatever. So they just remain perpetually short as a result. The other problem is that many other states might pay more money, right? Maybe the hospitals are paying other nurses more money. And on top of that, they might not have certain mandates, and you don't have to deal with the crime that is going on in New York. And so the cycle will continue. And it becomes very difficult because on an average year, 40% of nurses quit within their first year. An additional 25% quit by year 3. And so what do you do with those sort of demographics, with those sort of numbers, when you're trying to replace your ranks? And you have a large amount of people that are going to be retiring, and a large number of people that typically quit within their first or third year. And so, and on top of that, you have a mandate for something that people don't want to get, or many people might not want to get. And so it's going to continue to create shortages in healthcare. And with that said, it's just going to end up in lower quality of care for a lot of patients. So nurses will end up dealing with higher ratios, or patients will just wait in the ED and wait to be seen. It'll take longer for those patients to get seen, and of course those individuals will come into the hospital and they'll be sicker. And this is going to be the process. See, like, the borders are open because there's a lot of unskilled jobs that are not being fulfilled. And you can fill those jobs, but you can't necessarily always fill the very skilled jobs, like for engineers or for doctors or for nurses, etc. Right? Because it's not just about the pay that people will take into consideration. It'll also be the living standard, the experience, the crime, etc. You might pay more, but people are like, "I really don't want to live in those sort of conditions." And so people, even though they might earn more, doesn't necessarily mean that will translate to a higher standard of living. And so that will continue moving forward. You can have the borders wide open, and most of the people that are coming through the border are typically going to fulfill unskilled labor. And so that will help drive the prices down, like in the Walmarts, right? The supermarkets, cleaning people, right? Porters, etc. Jobs that don't necessarily require a degree. You can get those people to come across the border, right? But many of the skilled people or the educated individuals, they might not meet the requirements that America will say, "Okay, well, we'll let you in as a nurse from abroad," or whatever, because you just might not have the numbers. Or another country might just say, "You know what, well, we'll offer you a little bit more money to stay here. And you got your family here, it's your culture, this is where you grew up." So people might be like, "You know what? I don't want to live under those circumstances." And it's only going to continue to drive the problem more and more. And this is what's been happening for quite some time. It's been a couple of years, but it's been exacerbated by the pandemic and by the mandates. And so this has basically been my experience. I get tons of emails day after day. I get calls every single day. I get text messages from recruiters every day. I had one recruiter that was like, I got 4,500 jobs I need to fill. I had one hospital that was like, hey, we got 75 med-surg positions that we need to fill, and we got another 15 in critical care that we need to fill. Let me know if you're interested. And I'm like, do you have a mandate? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, well, good luck, because I'm not vaccinated, so I can't do nothing for you. So these people just go on without a nurse. And at that point, it doesn't become about getting the most skilled individual, right? Because you could have someone that's years working as a nurse, has a wide background, but if they don't meet that specific requirement, then you're kind of asked out. You have to settle for whoever's available to you. And so it becomes part of the problem where, the government can print all this money. They can print all this paper or create all these digits on a screen. But you can't print skilled workers. And that's where we're basically at. Not just in nursing, but within many fields. And you're seeing that with the railroad workers, right? That are going to go on strike because they know that they're in a good position. You have a lot of people. That's why you have the term quiet quitting. You have these people that realize, I know you need me, so I'm going to do the least I can to still earn that check because I know you can't cut me loose. That is not a recipe for progressing and survival. That is a recipe for disaster. And that's where we're at right now. Anyway, about to head into the gym. Thanks for watching. I'll check you next time.